Hello, everyone. I'm happy to be back with another Young Indian, part of the Voice of the Young series. Right now, we have with us Sneha Koley. Let's listen to her. Over to you, Sneha.
Firstly, thank you a lot, sir, for calling me here. There's been a lot of delay ever since last year to be here, but I'm really happy that finally I could be here. So to start with, I'm 20 and I'm currently a pre-final year student pursuing production engineering at NIT Trichy. So before, again, I don't have any advice per se to give to anyone, but I just hope that people who are watching it, they have a thing or two to learn from the mistakes they made in college up till now. So again, before I move into my career, I would want to start off with where I grew up as, how did I grow up, what is my environment and my surroundings. So I grew up in a Bengali household in Kolkata, and it is one of the typical Bengali households, right, where you put to dance, music, swimming, painting classes because the parents are right, and like my son or daughter should be good at everything. So like a lot of hobbies stacked on top of each other, and then I ended up being one of those kids who was put into different sorts of classes. But then again, I eventually left all of them because my parents put me to it, and it's not something that I got into on my own, right? And the funniest part is I wanted to rejoin all of these hobbies that I left back much later at a much later stage in my life. And and yeah, like that's exactly what the next point is gonna be that, I really did not realize how my parents putting me into different kinds of hobbies, putting me into different classes, how that has shaped me over the years. Because now I'm the kind of person who has a lot of hobbies. For example, I love listening to rock songs. Pink Floyd is my favorite band. I love writing. I love reading. I've read like some of the best classics, and my readings goal for this year would be to read more of Indian literature in specific, and then obviously some of the classics that I missed out on. And philosophy is something that I take a keen interest in. And so I really like combining two or three domains of my interest. So like, for example, I like rock songs and I like philosophy, right? And I also like writing. So I try combine three of them. So I want to write the philosophy of rock songs. I put it on my stories like on Instagram, and I send it over to my friends for their feedback. Again, yeah, to mention, of a lot of interest. So geopolitics is something again that I take a keen interest in. So again, like I like watching political or like historical thrillers. And speaking about hobbies, to be honest, like when I want to grow up, right? Again, it's shaped by how I've grown up in my childhood, the values that my parents gave to me. But I want to be the kind of person who has a fine balance between her career and her hobbies. Like I don't want to be the kind of person who's just known by, the job. I just feel for a lot of the people, their identity is the college that they went to. They went to tier one college, or like the job that they're working at and nothing else. So like that's the last person that I want to be. I want to be the kind of person who's known for what she does in her career, and as well as who I am outside of my career, because that's not my identity. So yeah, basically, I don't want my identity to be restricted by one or two things in particular. But I feel okay, that's a lot on hobbies. So if I move on to the career side of things, so again, like, again, if I speak of like a normal Indian family, I was good in academics, right? Throughout my school years, like the topper in school. And then again, I was good at science, maths and all of them. So engineering is something I opted out of my interest. But then once I came to college, I realized it's not really for me. I'm more interested in like the management side of things, like finance, consulting, product management, and running my own startup. I will come to that later. So like yeah, till 10, it's a very comfortable shell that I grew up in, definitely, because academically it wasn't really a hustle. Like I could study one day before and could score well in like school exams or whatever. But then 11th and 12th is where the real challenge was put in when we were put through the whole JEE thing, right? Like the syllabus was like huge. Like to put it, like again, I'm just boiling it down in like very simple terms. But the syllabus was huge. Like just three subjects, but juggling between tests and everything. It was so hard. But then yeah, I'm really glad at the end I did end up in a tier one college like an NIT Trichy. And after 12th, so yeah, I remember when I first saw the results in JOS, I was really happy that I got an NIT Trichy because I was hoping that NIT Trichy is not something I would be getting. I would be getting some other NITs. Uh, and then, yeah, currently I'm in my third year. So I've been through like, so I've seen different versions of me in different years, to put it clearly. Like, for example, in my first year, just I was just coming out of the JEE shell. So I was like, I just want to enjoy my college life. My only goals were to have friends and everything. So that's literally how my first year went, going to trips, enjoying fests and everything. Second year is something where I become very, very ambitious and very career oriented. This also when I started participating in case forms. Um, so it started with, so I remember like, I really wanted to get into a college club. So we have college clubs and societies, right, that you join and your seniors take your PIs and everything. I got rejected from a college club. And then, yeah, I remember it was a group of three friends who joined together. We were like, you know what, this because we did not make it somewhere. It should not stop what we want. That shouldn't prevent us from doing what we want to do nonetheless. So yeah, we went ahead and won case forms. It started with this competition called Impetus 4.0. So there were 3, 4 rounds of screening, and we made it to the top 10 from all over India. And there were students from different parts of the country who were there. And it was a fully sponsored trip, and so much learning both along the journey with every stage of the case form as well as when we went there. And yeah, that's something that opened up my world for me. I was like, okay, this is something that I really like doing. Like apart from like, participating in competitions, I really like meeting new people, the kind of people that you meet at new places. And then after that, uh, 2, 3 months later, it was the Hero Campus Challenge. It was a proper corporate case form. Again, we were the national finalists, like the top 5 teams from the engineering stream. We were called to Delhi, and yeah, it was even a grander experience, a beautiful experience of meeting people, learning throughout. It required a lot of dedication. I remember, I was in my fourth semester back then. So I was handling one of our annual cultural fest inductions work, along with my academics, like maintaining attendance, along with like maintaining along with participating in the competition. So yeah, which makes me realize that we speak a lot about work-life balance, but not like college-life balance. Because as a college student, for us, we have to handle our CGPA, we have to maintain our CGPA. We have to take, yeah, like we have to make sure a resume is more than just a CGPA, right? You have to be a part of like multiple societies in college. You have to take part in competitions. You have to find internships on our own, and yeah, everything like PORs and all of that. So handling that is extremely, extremely hard. Like again, I just feel ki you can't have all of them at once. Like you miss out on one important element. Like for example, if you have a really good social life, and if you have like a really good resume which has every parameter, you miss out on your sleep. If you have good sleep and you're really good at academics, you miss out on your social life. So yeah, I just feel if there's anything that I want people to talk more about, definitely apart from work-life balance, is how students manage their time in college. That's one of the things. So yeah, that was pretty much my second year. And then, so from my second year itself, that is when I was in my fourth semester, I realized finance is something that I enjoy a lot. For example, okay, so I grew up watching Shark Tank. So like I would watch Shark Tank US with my brother. And then when the Indian version came, I would watch that also with him. Like it was like, like as people would binge watch movies and web series, that's what we would do for Shark Tank. So, and then yeah, so I realized startups is something that interests me a lot. Even in my free time, all I would find myself doing is just going to YouTube and figuring out, okay, this startup was acquired by this, or like this company acquired this startup. Or, this is the kind of funding, this is the valuation of this. It's not something I consciously did, but I just realized it just happened, and then I realized, oh, I really enjoy this. So that's when I realized the world, like that's when it opened up the world of venture capital for me. So after that, I started delving more into finance, right? I came across concepts like financial modeling and then valuation and equity research report and everything. Realized this is something that I need in my college. Like, for example, our college is it's an engineering college. So the focus is definitely on the core sciences, right? And so all of the companies and placements, everything is very much leaning towards that, which is amazing. But a finance culture is something that I did not see in my campus. So I decided to start one of my own. For example, there's this international body called IPSA, and I opened a chapter in NIT Trichy, the NIT Trichy branch of IPSA. And yeah, so I'm like that is one of the things that I look forward to every day. And yeah, as I also mentioned, right, like while I was in the second year, I had a really hard time. Like I would devote a lot of my time in like clubs or fest teams. Now that I look back, as much as I know I've learned a thing or two from there, I really do feel that if you're putting in a lot of efforts for something, you might as well put into something that will create more impact. Like, to put it simply, like, if you have to put in some sort of efforts in putting in 5 hours a day for something, for like a fest team or a club, it will give me so much exponential or so much better returns when you do the same when I work at a startup, right? Because the learning curve is so much. So yeah, I just feel, I see a lot of juniors making that mistake. And I wish that this is some, and like, yeah, I've been there. Like, when you're in your second year, you feel getting into college societies is like the big deal. But now that you look back, to be honest, no mistake is that fatal that, it can't be reversed back. Like, for example, we think that, oh, I did not get this intern, or I did not get this, PO, get into this club or society. It's just done, right? Like, my career opportunities are lost. Like, life doesn't work that way in binary zeros and ones. Like, whatever you could have done as a part of a club or a team or anything, there will always be more opportunities. You might have to search harder for it. It might get harder for you later on, but yeah, the path is always open for that. And right now, so yeah, as I mentioned the point about startups. So right now, I'm working on a startup of my own. I'll be launching it in March. The name of my startup is called Echo. So the idea is basically, so again, as I mentioned, I love speaking with people, right? So I've spoken with people from different parts of India, from different countries. And when I speak with college going students, one of the biggest concerns that they mention is that, that they'll be really unhappy when, like, they're really scared that when they get out of college, they're going to lose out on the friendships. Like, for example, when they move to a different city, like if someone stays in Bangalore, but they're shifted to Pune or Mumbai, and they don't have any friends there. So they're really scared that when they go for like a new job or like a new internship in a new city, they would not have anyone to speak with. They would not have friends, or they would not have people to share their interests or hobbies with, right? So basically, me and along with my friend Akshay, who's also from my college, we're building an app which is also like, you could call it a social media app, which helps you meet friends or make friends based on common interests or like hobbies. So yeah, that's one thing. So like, for example, even I will be moving to a new city for my internship, right? And I don't have any friends there. So instead of being all lonely and everything, I could always hop onto this app and figure out, okay, who are the people in my vicinity who are also looking forward to having friends. So like, for example, as I mentioned, I love listening to rock songs, right? So anyone who loves listening to rock songs, they would be able to connect with people who love listening to rock songs, right? And yeah, this is something that I'm really, really looking forward to. We'll be launching it next month. Like, we're still in the prototype building stage. So yeah.
Well, that's very encouraging, to hear that you have identified an issue and with a typical engineer's mind, you have decided that, look, this is the problem statement. You've just given me the
Yeah.
problem statement, and now you're giving me the solution to it. And that's very encouraging. It's innovative, practical, using technology, and God, what else? You are an engineer, you'll do it, I'm sure. And let's hope it
Yeah.
takes you far on it. Okay, so wonderful. Um, what do you think of your own future?
Okay, as in, what do I want to do in my future like that?
Ah, it's up to you. Talk
Okay,
about
it
your
could be
future.
anything. Okay, sure, sure, sure. So, yeah, as I mentioned, I think it's one thing that, again, it's also about how I grew up as. If my parents always told me to be an independent thinker on my own, right? So, I have come to realize that I'm not the kind of person who can probably work at like a corporate setting or under someone. I would want to, I would want to start something of my own and start many things of my own and see where that takes me. So it's essentially that, like, there's nothing that gives you fulfillment other than solving real problems for real people. Like, this is the simplest way I could have put it forward. So I also realized one thing, that happiness is very different from fulfillment. Happiness is something, when you're following the traditional structure of, okay, like a tier one college, and then you go to like, you get a good job, and then you settle, you get married, but eventually probably give you happiness, right? But if you follow a typically unconventional path, like let's say a startup has a lot of uncertainty, right? You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. For example, funding is not that easy. But like, again, like, I'm willing to work for my startup even when I don't get any funding. That's my whole key idea. So you never really know what happens. There's a lot of stress. But the fulfillment that comes at the end of it when you listen to a customer or two, they're like, okay, yeah, this is something that solved my problem. I actually found a friend from here or anything like that. That's what gives you fulfillment. So again, any day I would prioritize my fulfillment over my happiness because again, like, short-term fulfillment, it eventually leads to happiness in the long run.
Mm.
Because to think about it, at the core of it, right? All of us, like you, me, all of us, we're not much different. Like we want very simple things. Like all of us have thought about creating impact, right? um, you know, Changing a life, few lives here and there. Like, this is often a question that we ask ourselves. Yeah, but what's the purpose of life at all? Like, why are we still living? I don't find a meaning. It's getting monotonous. I think it comes when you're following a defined structure. But like when you're actually solving issues for people, the fulfillment that comes from it, that helps you find the meaning of life. So yeah, that's definitely something that's how I want to see myself as someone who is building a lot of stuff for the people, who's solving people's problems. That's just to speak from a career point of view. But again, as I mentioned, my family means a lot to me. I've kept mentioning it, right? My dad has had a very, he has a really good influence in my life. For example, one lesson that he always told me is that, you should always speak up when there's some wrongdoing or anything, right? So remember when I was in school and my dad would protest against something if someone said anything wrong, if someone did not keep to his or her words, and then I would ask him, Dad, like, it's fine, you can let him go. And then he would be like, I can't let my whole life go on like this, right? I need to speak up and tell them that, okay, this is where it is wrong. Because you'll always be taken advantage of, and that's not how this is carry on with life, right? But now that I've grown up, now that I'm in my college, I see all of those qualities of my dad in me, to speak up and everything. So yeah, and I feel the best way to give it back to him or to give it back to my parents is to have enough time to. I would also want enough time to spend with them. So yeah, so I mean, you could tell that I know it's kind of a dilemma or like a contradictory situation because if I'm building startups, if I'm working at a startup, if I'm building my own thing, it's going to take a lot of time. It's going to take a major chunk of my time, right? Especially if I'm in the first 3 4 years, it will definitely take a lot of time. And so, as a matter of fact, I do know that I will have to compromise a lot on my personal front. But an ideal life would be, to be able to build startups and at the same time to be able to prioritize, the amount of time that I spend with mom and dad, my elder sister, and all of these people. So yeah. And to think about it, not just like in terms of values, I feel a lot of my qualities of being adventurous and everything, it came from my dad. Like my dad is someone who loves trekking, right? And that's something I got from him as well. That's now a hobby. So anytime I'm going to a travel, anytime I'm gonna travel somewhere, I'm like, okay, what are the next places where I can check to, where I can go hiking? So yeah.
Wonderful. That's uh, any tips you have for young people, because you have pretty solid views on things. So what
Thank you.
if it and what I find is that a lot of people in 11th and 12th, they are a bit confused. There's nobody really.
Okay.
Well, there are people to guide them, but still they are confused. Let's put it this way. So do you have any thoughts for them?
Okay. So I would probably say something that could be a bit controversial because I see on social media, right? For example, why the usual path of J versus NEET? Why is that hype of getting into a good college in India? Why can't you just be an artist? But like, as much as that is true, that's not how it should be. But I also get why is it that way. For example, in India, we have a very huge population, right? The gap between the rich and the poor, it's huge. There's a huge gap in between. So I get it. Like the ticket to like a really good life, a really quality life is actually through like a really good college or like when you get like really good education. Because once you're in a good college, it helps you get a good job. So I understand that sentiment, like where it's coming from. Like not really agree with it. That's not how it should be. Like in an ideal world, if in India, if the disparity between the rich and the poor, if it wasn't that long, but if the disparity between the top 1% or even the top 10% versus the next 90% if it wasn't that like high, I would have been like, yeah, definitely hard. So I'm not going to comment anything about that, but I'd probably say it's very important to not revolve your personality around one thing. Because what happens is that if you revolve your personality around one thing, right? So it's why there are chances that things will go downhill for you for that one thing at some point of time, right? For example, if you revolve your whole life around your academics, like let's say when you're in your 11th and 12th, and then there will be times when it will go bad. Like, and I could tell that because it's 11th and 12th, those are the most two crucial years of your life. So that's why a lot of the students they resort to, like, that's why a lot of these mental health issues, if people turn suicidal and everything, all of these things turn in, right? So that's what I would say. I'm not saying that ditch your academics or like don't study as much. I'm saying have a lot of side hobbies or things you can turn to. Like for example, if you love listening to music, it was rock songs for me, it was reading for me, it was writing for me. That was a savior for me. Like I would have been insane if it wasn't for these hobbies. So yeah, like focus and work on your career, do all of those things, but don't ditch the hobbies that got you so far because those are the things that will help you um, refresh your mind. For example, today I read this text somewhere that Bob Dylan, he's actually like a musician, right? But apparently to take some break from his songwriting, he would focus on doing art. So like, it doesn't matter even if you're the best at something. It's amazing. It's good at it. But still have something apart from that. So, but so what we tend to do generally is we base our confidence on that one thing, right? And so when that one thing in life falls apart, we feel, oh, my life is over. There's nothing that I can do about it. So, but it's literally like how investment works, right? You diversify your investment. So even if one stock is not taking off, you have the other stocks to cover up for all of your risks, right?
Mm,
So the same way here, if one thing is going downhill, you'll have other things to cover up for it.
mm,
That would be the first thing, and the second thing would be again personal experience. So a lot of us tend to base our confidence, like our sense of confidence in ourselves, uh, in uh, in our achievements. But the thing is, so what happens when you don't achieve something for like a long time? You're like, oh my God, I'm useless. I should probably end my life. Those are the things that comes in, right? So I feel we should be using the wrong parameters to base our confidence on, like because achievement is a very extrinsic extrinsic factor, right? So a better way to base your confidence on would be how much efforts you are putting in. For example, if I'm participating for a competition, I could very well win or not win, but there are a lot of factors which are not in my control, right? There's no point worrying about those things. So a better way for me to feel confident would be, okay, I've put in my 100%. I couldn't have done any better than that. And that should give me my sense of confidence. So, and I've seen a major improvement in the quality of my life, in the quality of my mental health once I started following that. Because now I'm like, okay, it doesn't matter the results. The only thing I have to ensure is how much effort I'm putting in. Is it the best? Is it the best that I can do? And yeah, that works.
okay. Since you mentioned hobbies, and
Yeah.
you said that you had a typical Bengali middle class hobbies
Yeah.
portfolio, which you quit, I guess, because your parents thought you should study. But
No, no. It wasn't like that. I left it on my own because,
okay, all right.
yeah,
But
because
what I've heard
yeah,
from you is that you revived some of them, right?
yes,
Okay.
yes, yes,
Now, there are
definitely.
two types of hobbies. One is consumption hobby. Consumption means you told me you like to listen to Pink Floyd. Okay, that's a consumption hobby. But then
Mm-hmm.
there are production hobbies where you create
Yeah,
something. It's not great, it's not
yeah,
fantastic, it's not world class, but it's yours, right?
yeah,
So, do
yeah.
you have any productive hobbies where you are producing
Okay.
something?
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us
Okay.
about
I
it?
love, yeah, sure. So I mentioned, right? I love combining my hobbies. So I love writing. Writing is something that I do a lot. Again, I don't post it on Medium. That's something I've been considering to do, like to have a website of my own as well. But yeah, I put it on my stories, Instagram stories, or on my WhatsApp, and I'm just sending it over to people. Be like, hey, I would want you to read. So basically, whatever songs that I'm listening, like for example, I will take one of my favorite rock bands, Led Zeppelin, right? There's a
Yeah.
song, Stairway to Heaven. So
Yes.
it's basically, at the start of the song, it's basically a metaphor for someone. So Stairway to Heaven is like an imaginary situation, right? So
Yes.
you keep on walking up the stairs and you think that at some point you will reach heaven,
Yeah.
which is like an endpoint, but you never end up reaching. It's like an illusion that the stair is leading you to somewhere. So that's something I connect a lot with myself because I feel okay. I mean, this is just for this and I will get there. It never really ends. I mean, it's a good thing because it keeps me pushing to do better. But it's also like it's never ending. No matter how much you try, no matter whatever you do, there's always more to achieve. There's more to do. So yeah, so this is something that I write about, right? So I like philosophy, so I consume a lot of philosophical texts. And I also love listening to rock songs, right? So I combine both of this and I write about the philosophy of rock songs. So
Wow.
yeah, when it comes to producing something, I love writing in that way.
My only question is, why are you listening to the songs of my youth?
Well,
This is this is wrong. You can't listen to my youth songs.
you know, I get it. But yeah, those are the classics. I mean, for a reason. Yeah. I mean, something about the lyrics that really struck a chord with me even now.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right. Wonderful. Anything else you want to add here?
Um, we have added a lot of the things, but to think about it, yeah. Also, you also mentioned about you asked me a question a few moments back, right? About what do you want to do in future. So the podcast is definitely on my list because as I mentioned, I love meeting new people. I love speaking to them. So that's definitely something I would want to tick off on my list. Like forming genuine connections with people because I realized one thing that networking is like, we think networking is, oh, okay, I cold mailed a few people, so I've networked. I have 10K connections of LinkedIn I've networked. And I could vouch for that because I have 10K connections on LinkedIn and it's not equivalent to networking. Networking is someone I could text right now. And then I could have a conversation with them and they'll be willing to help me out regardless
Yeah.
of the situation.
Yeah.
That is real networking. So if there's anything I would want to build real network, and to build along and to like continue along the why I'm building the friendship app as I mentioned, because I want people to build meaningful connections because I feel with we are somehow getting more and more disconnected, right? So
Yeah.
I want people like I have myself seen how much I crave for meaningful connections and I'm glad I have them. Like I have different friends for different things. For example, I have friends I can hit up and be like discuss about classics. I have friends I can discuss rock songs with. I have friends I can discuss about philosophy with. There's not a friend is not like a all-in-one package, right? Different friends have different things to offer. So yeah, and it's beautiful. Like, and I want everyone else to experience that too. I don't want anyone to be left over. I don't want anyone else to settle in their friendships. Oh, because they can't find anyone better. And yeah, like it also aligns with my thought process that I don't like settling. Settling is something that's one of my biggest fears in life. And it applies to anything. I don't want to settle in terms of my career. I wouldn't want to settle when it comes to my love life. I wouldn't want to settle when it comes to my friendships. And it's also something I wouldn't want other people to do. So I just feel this app is a way to bridge that gap or, doing something that I would want others to experience as well.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Sneha. It was a pleasure to listen to such a passionate young woman. You got a lot to say and you know how to say it. Okay, great. This is why we have this channel so that young people can come and
Thank you
speak.
for calling.
And you have validated the idea of this channel that, look, here I am. I have a lot to say. Will you please shut up and listen to me? Yes, I will.
Thank you so much.
All
Thank
right,
you so
good.
much.
Let's end it here today. I'll be back with
Sure,
another
sure.
young person or an expert. Don't go away. I want to talk to you offline. Okay. Bye, everybody.